Hi, welcome to my blog. My name is Tom Shu, and today I'm going to teach you how to make dry brush borders for use in Photoshop. Okay, you can go online and you can find brushes and download them and stuff like that, but it's fun to create your own things and use your own creativity for your final products. Okay, so I'm not into grabbing brushes and using other people's brushes when I can make my own. So it can be as simple as making a texture. Remember how we did the lemon juice textures? Well, today we're just going to paint some dry brush strokes on some paper. We're going to make a photo of it, and then we'll bring it into Photoshop. So all you'll need is some paper, a brush, like kind of a cheap throwaway brush, and some paint. Today we're going to be using some of my kids' watercolors that we bought them for, some washable tempera paint. Okay, you like to use a dark color. I couldn't find black, so I'm going to use like a dark gray, because we're going to have to do an adjustment layer and turn this into a brush inside Photoshop. So let's zoom in and I'll show you what I'm doing. It's pretty simple. We're going to make a bunch of different sizes and shapes, and kind of the trick is to make sure that you leave enough room that you can make a selection of it and save it as an individual brush. Okay, so you load your brush up, and I've got another paper below that I kind of knock some of the paint off, and you just make a stroke. And there you have it. That's how simple this is. Just come in here and make a stroke. And you can do different ones. They don't all have to be long strokes. They can be some short strokes, so you can stack them on top. Maybe something like this, or something a little wavy. But the idea is to leave enough room to where you can make a selection inside Photoshop. So I'll continue and make some more brushes. Maybe I'll come back this way with it. Maybe this one I'll just kind of wave it a little bit and come back. Maybe like that. Now, there's no rules to this. It's just whatever your creativity is. This one's thick to thin, and this one will be thin to thick. Okay? You kind of want to stay straight if you're going to use them for photo borders. So I'm going to try this one here. It's a skinny one. There you have it. Your first set of custom brushes. So I'll set up my camera on a tripod, and I'll take a high-res exposure of these brushes. I'll make sure that I tape my paper flat so that it's nice and square, and then I'll meet you inside Photoshop. Okay, we're back. We're inside Lightroom here, and we've edited the images. Actually, I brought them in. I haven't done any editing to them. They're just the way they are. And you can see that here's the left side of the brushes. This one is the right side brushes. This is the right side brushes, and this is the little one I was dabbing the paintbrush on. So there might be some brushes I can get from there. And also these pieces of tape, they're going to make some cool brushes too. So let's go over here, and we're going to right click. We're going to right click this one here, and we're going to edit it in. Let me do it up here. Edit in Photoshop, and I'm going to open it as a smart object because it loads a lot faster. So click it there, and then it's going to launch Photoshop, and there's the image. Now there's lots of things we can do to this, but we're going to go pretty quickly, and I'm just going to show you to try to keep this video short because I'd like to make long videos. So we can zoom in, and you can see there's lots of like brush marks and strains. We're only at, it's a high-res file. We're at 49%, so it can get really pretty detailed. Okay, so I want to make the background wider, and I want to make the brushes darker. Okay, so what we're going to do is with our smart object, one of the ways we could do it is we could just double click and bring it inside of Camera Raw, and then you can adjust the exposure. You can, we can make brushes that look like that, or we can make brushes that look like that, right? So I'm just going to cancel out of there. But I just want to let you know, when you're working with smart objects, you can resize things and you don't lose detail from downsampling inside Photoshop. And you can also access Camera Raw right from Photoshop and do a bunch of adjustments without having to go in and do adjustments, layers, levels, curves, all this kind of stuff. So what we'll do is we're going to make a curves layer adjustment on this. So select curves, and we're going to brighten the background by going to the lighten side of the curve. Okay, I'm not looking at the brush itself. I'm just trying to lighten the background, and I'm going to darken the brush by grabbing on the dark side. This is where the darks. On this side, if we divide it in half, this is the darks, this is the highs, and then, if we divide it again, this is the mid-range, the mid-tones. Okay? Control Z. So that looks pretty good there as far as what I want to do. Alright, so go back to our layers palette, and I want to create a working file. You can't do selections and do things inside of the smart object, but what you can do is, say if I did a bunch of adjustments, say I did photo filter, and I come over here and I added a exposure adjustment, so I've darkened everything down, and yeah, so we go there, and I wanted to make a working file of all these changes, but on a new layer by itself. I hit Control Shift Alt Control Shift E, or Command Option Shift E, and you'll see that it'll create a new document or new layer with all the information in those adjustments on this top layer. And this is going to work as to our benefit, so I'm going to delete that. I just wanted to show you that what the whole function of that command set is. Okay, so with our curves and our top layer selected, Alt Control Shift E, and now we have a regular layer with our information. So we're going to grab our magic wand tool, and we're going to make a selection. And right now we've selected all the white. We want to select everything that's the dark green or dark black, whatever you want to call this. Okay, so if we made a copy and paste, if we go edit copy, edit paste, it's going to create a new layer with all of that white selected. We want the exact opposite, so we need to invert our selection. So we're going to turn this layer back on, magic wand tool, select the white, and now we're going to invert the selection. Let me zoom this out. You can see that the outside edge is selected. That means it's got everything selected between here and here. We just want everything selected in the black. So with Windows, it's Control Shift I, and it's Command Shift I on a Mac. And you notice the marching ants are gone from around the edge of the document. So that means it's selected everything on the inside. So we've inverted the selection. So we're going to hit Control C to copy, and that's Command C Charlie on a Mac, and Control V to paste. It's the same as edit copy, edit paste. That's Command V on a Mac. So we turn off this layer. You can see that we've isolated our brush stroke on a transparent background. We've also isolated the tape. So what we'll do is we'll go in with our lasso tool, and we'll make a selection of just the brush that we want to create. Because if we try to define this whole page as a brush preset, every time we click the brush tool, everything you see on the screen would be part of that brush. And we only want this particular stroke to be the whole brush. So we're going to go Edit, Define Brush Preset, and we'll call it TSP Dry Brush. TSP is Thomas Shoe Photography, and we're going to call this Test. Okay, that's as simple as that. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to grab our brush tool. We're going to deselect by hitting Control D, Command D on the Mac. Grab our brush tool. You can hit the B key to get to the brush, and we'll go down to this bottom brush, and you can see, if I right click to rename it, you can see the name of it. This is the test brush that we just created. Okay, double click it, and if we click inside here, we can create our brush strokes. Undo some of those. So I'll say this would be the bottom frame, and then to invert this or work with this brush, if you click on this icon here, it will bring into your brush presets and your brush controls. This, what it does, it allows it to flip. So if this is our brush, and you notice where the arrow's pointing, if we go 180 degrees, now this will be on the other side. So if you hold down the shift key, it automatically goes for you in increments and locks in. So there's 180 degrees. We'll close this, and you can see that we made a brush there. So a brush stroke completely opposite of the first one. So if we wanted just to go 90 degrees, we'll hold the shift 90. You can see we need to resize the brush. Let's close this. I can start to build like a little frame here. So I'll go back into our brush presets, and I will go 90 degrees again. Oh, we can see I got to go down to this side. Okay, close this, and we'll make a little frame. So to continue to make more brushes, we'll just go ahead and hide this layer, and we'll select the layer here that has all our brushes. With our lasso tool, you can use the marquee selection. You make a selection of the brush you want to do, edit, define brush preset, and we'll call this TSP dry brush test 2. We'll click OK, and the same thing will happen. We'll grab our brush tool, we'll turn on our new one, turn off this layer below so it doesn't look so confusing. Control D to deselect. With our brush selected, we'll come down and we'll grab our new brush that we just made, double click it, and we can resize this brush. And if I wanted to say make maybe some corners for this, I come here and I can freewheel it, and I can go to the corner here, so I know I'm at an angle here. So I close this out, and if I want to just make a small brush, I can resize it, and there's a brush stroke there. I'm not saying that's what we want to do, but you can do it. Let's make our brush big, and there it is. That's the one we defined. So what I've done is I've went in and I with this brush selected, I went in and I've made brushes of the tape and these last two. So if you go here to your brush, this little gear, and we go to preset manager, we can get rid of those last two we did. Okay, so this is where you can shift select or control select multiple brushes, and we'll delete those two. Okay, and we'll save these. We'll just collect them all, and we'll save these as a set, and we'll call this TSP dry brush collection, and we'll call it members. And this will be a free collection for anyone that's the members of my blog that's interested in this dry brush collection. It'll be free for all of you. So we'll save that. Click done. Okay, so there we have it. So tomorrow we'll use these same brushes and we'll make a video showing you how to make borders using these new dry brushes. One last thing on this thing, I want to show you how you can use those same brushes we just created and kind of with that same thing create a whole different look on these brushes using this same set and make, say, maybe a grunge set of these brushes. Alright, so we're going to go back to our selected brushes, and this time we're not going to add a curves adjustment, we're going to add a threshold adjustment. And you see how that darkened everything up real well? Well, if you zoom in here, okay, you can see that if we move this threshold to the left, we can add more stroke detail, and if we move to the right, we can get rid of it. So we can make like a really opaque set of brushes, a really bold set, and then we can make a really light set, like maybe like this. So if we just want a little bit of dry brush information, so let's just make maybe a set like this, call it a grunge set. Go back to our layers, and we'll turn on everything this time, and we're gonna hit Control Alt Control Shift E, or and that's Command Option Shift E on the Mac, and we're gonna create a new layer. And you can see that there's the new brushes that have been selected. So if we zoom in, you can see that this brush is completely different as the last one. So if we make a selection, so if we grab our marquee tool, the reason why I like using the lasso tool is I can kind of miss these things. So if you go edit, define brush preset, TSP, dry brush, grunge, click OK, we'll make a new layer, hide everything, Control D to deselect, we'll grab the brush and we'll go in here and grab our grunge brush, and you can see that it's completely different looking from the original brush we did, which is more of a fine, subtle brush. So I want to thank you all for watching today, and until tomorrow, we'll see you soon.